Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is Anomalien, and I am Stephen Solow. Today, we take a look at the coronavirus, which I'm sure you're probably already aware of. But first, let's shed some light on a parasite known as Toxoplasmosis, and how the zombie apocalypse could actually be a thing because of Toxoplasmosis. And if you haven't heard of this parasite, I suggest you stay tuned. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Also, stay put for episode 2 of the Anomalien Podcast as we talk about a possible world-ending scenario. Without further ado, let's begin.
While everyone is waiting for some apocalyptic event from the outside, the real danger is already among us. According to biologist Athena Actipis of Arizona State University, half of all creatures on the planet are parasites. The biologist gave an interview to Asia Times in which she noted a parasite such as Toxoplasmosis. It affects approximately 40 million Americans a year, making them schizophrenic. To better understand the degree of danger, Athena gave an example. When a parasite penetrates a rat, it makes it fall in love with the smell of cat urine. As a result, the rat itself runs to its enemies and becomes easy prey. The parasite then penetrates the cat's body and later into the human body. The behavior of all animals and people during infection changes dramatically. Toxoplasmosis affects the nervous system. Ms. Actipis said, quote, "The parasite somehow evolved to make a rat get turned on by the smell of cat urine. So it goes to a cat and snuggles with it, and then it gets eaten, which completes the life cycle of Toxoplasmosis. If that's not zombification, then what is? Humans can get infected by the deadly parasite just by eating undercooked meat, or even cleaning out a cat's litter box could lead to infection. Many studies have found that parasite-based brain infections can contribute to certain human behaviors. Aggression, which is also caused by the parasite, is one such behavior often associated with zombies. Of course, this would also require a huge evolutionary leap for Toxoplasmosis to do to humans what it does to rats, but the worst is already among us. It remains only to wait until it begins to act actively." The panic is beginning to cover not only the Chinese, whose government quarantined the whole city of 11 million people, but also the world. Videos from China resemble a creepy movie about the zombie apocalypse. Nobody knows exactly what to fight with and how. Some experts believe that the answer to the epidemic should not be sought in the present, but in the past. According to Bill Gates, various strains occur at regular intervals. They spread around the world, claiming a huge number of lives. The world is not ready for any kind of pandemic, while the likelihood of its occurrence is huge. It complicates the situation, the fact that today, people can travel between continents in just a couple of hours. The Institute for Disease presented a map showing that in 6 months, a new strain could kill 30 million people. In 1918, a similar flu killed 50 million people. One needs to prepare for a pandemic as seriously as preparing for a war. The spread of coronavirus continues. No one really knows how to pacify the problem. Hello everyone, welcome to the Anomalien Podcast, the second episode. I am Stephen Solow, as you already know. You guys already met Ron Stoned, but today we have somebody new who's joining the team. He is the guy that doesn't believe in anything. I happen to know this guy for 6 or 7 years, 8 years going strong probably, and he will be a regular on the show to basically question everything Ron Stoned and I bring up. His name is Jus Mike. Jus Mike, how you doing?
You can call me the skeptic, I suppose.
The skeptic. He's the guy that Ron Stoned is going to have to be the referee, Ron Stone's basically going to have to pull us apart when we're in the midst of
tearing
heated debates.
each other's jugular out.
Jugular. How you doing, Ron Stone?
All right. Yourself?
Good. We got some beers. Cheers for the second episode of the Anomalien.
Yes, sir.
We got an interesting topic today, guys, and it's kind of scary almost. But before we get into that, my condolences to the Bryant family. Kobe Bryant was one of the people I looked up to when I was a young athlete.
Yeah, great guy that did a lot for the community, a lot for his kids and upcoming WNBA player, his daughter. Rest in peace to them.
What about you, Jus Mike?
I think it was 9 people total in the helicopter. Yeah. And to clarify, there's a video out that they claim is the helicopter crash, but it's not.
It's not. It looked like too rocky.
Yeah, it was. They said it was an old video from Red Rock.
Right. Oh, so it was in Vegas? That helicopter?
Is Vegas? Red Rock's not in Vegas. No, sorry, not Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was my bad.
I saw that video where that...
it was spiraling out of control.
Spiraling and it went down.
Someone told me about that too.
Yeah, but it turns out it's a hoax. It actually happened, but that was at the Grand Canyon a few years ago. There was a helicopter accident.
Wow. Yeah, I remember my wife showing me, and I was like, this doesn't look like Calabasas.
No. And it's funny because the video that I saw was kind of doctored a little bit. They tried to make it misty outside and stuff like that because in the report it said that the conditions were not great. So
yeah,
but you could tell the mountains were all red and it looked weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what I heard too. That they were hovering over for like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and then that happened.
You know what? Yeah, I heard different accounts. There's like there was no fuel in it, or
So I know the guy had just got his license back in 2007. What kind of I thought was weird is that you're Kobe Bryant, you have millions and millions of dollars. Your pilot is a guy that is just got his license 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago.
Right.
I want like a World War II veteran that was driving an AC-130 to be in my cockpit when I'm.
Yeah, and the fact it's a what's that chopper name? A Swarovski? It's one of.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's
yeah.
one of those choppers that rarely crash.
So well, you know what? We're not gonna like.
Yeah, because
the guy. Yeah, they're all deceased at this point. So I just thought it was really. To me, it was just weird how, he has, I would think that high profile people like that, and I don't think it's specifically Kobe Bryant that books his pilot, but I would say maybe shame on the personal assistant or whoever it was that had that hired him. This sort of thing happens all the time where people make bad decisions to like pay for like just low budget stuff. Right. I think the soccer team that died, when was that, a few years ago? The whole soccer team that
right. What was it in South America? Right?
Yeah, they picked whoever the team manager was picked the cheapest flight he could, and so that was one of the things that determined them crashing. So
what's my worst fear? Like, I'm not afraid of ghosts or aliens. I'm actually afraid of planes and pit bulls.
I remember you telling me that.
I'm not so much scared of pit bulls. I always feel I'd like to think that if my life hung in the balance of a pit bull, I would take it out.
Oh yeah.
Well, Ron was attacked by a dog not too long ago. He was attacked by a German Shepherd, right?
Oh man, but like when you said your first things think either the eyeballs or the nose, and that's what I did, just the little pop on the nose. And
how many stitches did you get from your dog attack?
3.
You got attacked by our friend's dog.
If I got attacked by a German Shepherd, one of us is not leaving alive. Like I'm not just going to get bit by a dog and that be it.
Can you just imagine Ron's that cool guy, he's
super
nice
laid
and calm,
back.
and a dog attacks him, he starts screaming like a woman.
Gayaka!
I don't. Ron's so chill. I don't imagine him panicking. Even being mauled by a dog. He's probably like, "Hey man, just chill out."
Yeah, that's what they say.
Come on, man.
I got bit. I'm like, oh man.
That's when you went to the hospital.
Bleeding.
That's when you went to. Initial thought that ran through my head was like, you called me and said, Steve, I was attacked by Eric's dog. Eric's a friend of ours. I'm like, which one? He goes, and Ron says, the German Shepherd. So in my mind, I just replayed it where he started screaming when the dog was on his arm. But
oh man,
yeah. So anyways, guys, this is the second episode. The video that you guys just watched, our viewers and listeners, was about the Toxoplasmosis parasite, and I want you guys to listen really quick. Mike, you know a little bit about this. So the Toxoplasmosis, Ron, basically is a parasite that's usually found in rats and mice. Okay, so listen real closely as I start to explain what it is. Now, it's actually originally found in cats. It's found in cat urine. So what happens is that this parasite that's in cat urines, mice get infected by it. And the mice and the rats are attracted to cats after that. So it has no fear. So that's why cats, this is usually found in Brazil. Okay, so cats, they're easy prey for cats with, rats that are infected with toxoplasmosis. So if you get infected by that, Ron, you would have less fears. Basically what would originally how it starts off is you have more, I guess, testosterone flowing through your body. Now, it doesn't sound too bad, right? The actual thought behind it is if it mutates and if it becomes something different. Say, for example, this parasite, let's say you had rabies and you were infected with that parasite and you don't have any fear. This is the thought experiment behind how zombies are going to become actually real, not Walking Dead, but 28 days later type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that was the video that our listeners and our viewers saw before we had the podcast, but we are going to be talking about the coronavirus right now. Let me ask both of you guys, what have you heard on the media so far about the coronavirus? Ron?
I looked up what coronavirus means, and then where they get that term coronavirus, it's like a Latin for a crown, because the way it is, it has like little spikes like a crown.
Right.
And then that's what I heard.
Okay. Yeah, I thought someone cut their finger on a Corona bottle. And
Mike's the skeptic. What do you think about the coronavirus? What have you heard?
My thing is that everything, I don't pretend to be like a bioengineering degree or anything like that, but the little bit I do know is that a lot of these strands of viruses will constantly morph and change and turn into something completely different. And that's why vaccines are not always 100%. And that's why they're always kind of reinventing vaccines. So, who's to say this is just like a different strand of like the flu virus or something?
Well, initially, that's what we all thought. We thought this was another SARS outbreak, right? We thought that, I'm not into fear mongering, and that's not what I want to do for the podcast. But based on my research, it's something else. It's not just your regular flu.
Do you know what the symptoms are?
It's like the flu, basically.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Respiratory infections could cause pneumonia.
So how does one go about getting treated at this point?
Well, basically, from what I understand, you're quarantined, and I guess they run you through a whole bunch of antibiotics. So
I mean, it's not like it's not like a death sentence, is it?
Well, that's what the media is telling us. So like I said, I'm not into fear mongering, but I just want to read this article. I want you guys to be aware of this. There's an Indian scientist, an Indian doctor, who found out something that's really weird. I'm actually trying to pull it up right now. So there is this Indian doctor. I'm not going to read it actually because I can't find it. I'm just going to go off my head. So I got to fact check this. So an Indian doctor actually was looking at the coronavirus, and he was looking at AIDS, the AIDS virus. they're genetically structured almost the same.
Yeah, but isn't there something to it that I don't think the physical shape of the virus really has anything to do with its components or what it does to you, does it?
No, it's the RNA inside the coronavirus is basically identical to
You're saying
AIDS
on
almost.
a molecular level they're
Right.
like constructed the same.
Right. I may be butchering this. Like I said, you guys know I'm no doctor or anything, but a mistake. It's actually an American doctor who found out that it was somehow connected to HIV. We're going to put a link in the description below. So how could the flu virus, the coronavirus, SARS, they're two totally different viruses, right?
From the influenza virus and the coronavirus?
No, they actually come from the same family. My thing is the AIDS virus.
Oh,
That's a different kind of it's a different kind of animal, but under the microscope. Basically, according to this scientist, I'm going to back this up because a doctor in China, there's a site called CC something, and I'm going to link for all of you guys that are listening that want to also fact check. I'm going to link it in the show notes where you can actually find the articles that I've read and then make a decision for yourself. A Chinese doctor says the best way to treat the coronavirus is by giving them AIDS medication. When you asked about the treatment, I was going to say that, but I wanted to save it until I said that.
Because the AIDS virus eats up your immune system.
Exactly.
And then does the crown virus do the same thing?
Well, it does not, but we don't. This new coronavirus is actually quite old because if you look on your Lysol cans, disinfectant.
So now maybe you guys can clarify. Can you kill a virus that's in the body? Because I've heard like myths about this where some people say for example, the flu virus, once it's in you, they say it never dies and you have it for the rest of your life. You just don't always have the symptoms.
So it's like building an antibody.
Yeah, it'll still linger, and again, sometimes your immune system, for whatever reason, like statistically, you only get the flu as an adult 2 times every 10 years is the average.
Is that kind of like the chicken pox?
No, chickenpox you get one time and you're done.
And then that's it.
Yeah, your body builds the immunity for the rest of your life.
I don't know. I haven't read anything about that, but that's entirely possible.
From what I know, viruses you cannot kill. Like once they're in your body, that's it. The only thing is your body kind of, from what I know, and again, you'll have to fact check this because I don't have it with me, but you can, once it's in there, it's like your body will build up all these antibodies, white blood cells that are specifically designed. So once you get the flu virus, from what I know, it's like, okay, it beats the virus, but the virus still stays in your body. It's just the virus knows better than to attack because the white blood cells are sitting there like, yo, you better chill out. Otherwise, I'm going to take you out.
Right.
Interesting. So, yeah. So again, I think this coronavirus thing is really just a matter of us controlling it until we can find the vaccine for it. And
Are you guys vaccine guys?
No.
I wasn't.
Ron Stoned.
I wasn't until I caught the flu. Oh. I'm pretty sure this was the first time a couple of weeks ago that I caught the flu. Actually, what would you say, a month ago?
Yeah, about a month ago.
I've never missed work. I've been sick before and I always go to work, and I caught the flu. I didn't know it. And for 3 days I went to work, and on the 4th day I tapped out. I woke up in the morning and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get out of bed. I was just dead.
Wow. Whole body shut down.
Yeah. So, the flu, a lot of people say they get the flu, but they haven't actually had it. Like once you've had the flu, you go, oh, that's what the flu is.
So, but you had the flu and you went to go get vaccinated afterwards?
No. So what happened is, if I would have been vaccinated, if you get the flu, it's like 100 times less. It's very mild, and chances are you won't get it. And another thing to note is if you feel sick, go to the doctor. Don't be stubborn like me, because if you wait more than 48 hours, they won't even give you medication to fight it.
Right. They're just going to let your body process it.
Yeah. They say, okay, well, now you just got to sweat it out. And those 3 days of sweating it out was like the worst time of my life. So I could only imagine that this coronavirus is, obviously worse.
Based on based on what we're seeing, though, it's not as bad as what it seems. Like, okay, Ron, how come you don't like to take vaccinations?
I heard mixed stories. Like they actually put the different flu viruses in you, because when I seen the capsule, what they inject in you,
Yeah,
it was like little tiny things inside there, and it was like they said it's like different flu viruses, so your body gets immune to it. So then, if it does come, then then your body could fight it.
okay.
So real quick Googled this because I was curious about the virus. This is Google's answer. Strictly speaking, viruses can't die for the simple reason that they aren't alive in the first place. Although they contain genetic instructions in the form of DNA or the related molecule RNA, viruses can't thrive independently. Instead, they must invade and host organisms and hijack the genetic instructions.
Yeah.
So again, I think that once you're this is what I got out of this. That once you have the virus and it's in your body, that's it. It's there. The problem is once the virus is there and it starts taking over DNA molecules or cells,
Right.
Your white blood cells recognize immediately that the virus attached itself to the cell, and your white blood cell just attacks it right away. So when you become immune to it, it's not that the virus isn't there and you don't have it anymore. It's just the white blood cells are so good at this point. They're like RoboCop, where they just annihilate anything that comes in of whatever the white blood cell was trained to attack.
So basically, Ron, you're right. What the vaccination actually does is it injects the virus into your body so that your body will adapt to it. So that's why you get over basically the flu, is that your body, your antibodies. This is the whole reason why your bones hurt when you're sick, because your bones produce basically the bone marrow produces white blood cells and red blood cells as well. So your body recognizes that there's a foreign thing in your body, and therefore it sends out the troops, and your bones are creating your white blood cells. And the reason why you get hot when you're sick is because your body knows, your brain knows, you don't know this, but your brain knows that it's a hostile environment for any foreign bodies like viruses, bacteria. So it raises its temperature, and it causes your body to, sweat and stuff like that to cool down, because viruses and bacteria can't survive in overheated environments.
Oh, that's why you sweat out all the toxins.
Your body purposely overheats to kill everything, to incinerate it, which is weird because obviously it's not hot enough to physically burn anything. But to his point, I think it becomes inhospitable for alien things coming into it.
So here's the brass tacks, guys. This is what we gave you guys a little history of the coronavirus. For those of you that are listening, I'm pretty sure that you know about the coronavirus. You probably are aware of the conspiracy theories going around. But here's an interesting thing that I saw. A lot of people claim that it came from exotic animals from the wet market in Wuhan, right?
Yeah, I did read about that. That it's definitely the most, I feel like it's the most reasonable assumption to come to.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Ron?
Wuhan. Where is Wuhan?
In China.
So
it originated from Wuhan.
It's crazy that you said that, because you said that about the mice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Toxoplasmosis is a parasite that's more in Brazil. But the coronavirus, which it actually originated in Wuhan, China. I was actually correlating.
Oh, okay.
Let me entertain you guys for a second and paint the perfect apocalypse scenario. Okay. So this is true, and not many people know this, but and I need you to bear with me, Stephen, but every 50 years, bamboo bears fruit. Okay. It literally grows fruit every 50 years simultaneously. All bamboo all of a sudden sprouts these weird fruits. And then they drop the fruit, and then it goes back to a cycle every 50 years. Now, the problem with that is every 50 years, there is an astronomical infestation of rats and mice in Asia. Okay. And so they correlated the two because there were biblical stories about this where, you know, fields and fields of mice, thousands of them, you would literally,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know, they attribute it to the plague and whatnot, but every 50 years in Asia, all the bamboo starts bearing fruit. And so what happens is all these rats, because rats will breed depending on how much food there is available. If there's not enough food, they're actually known to cannibalize their young.
Right.
They'll literally eat them as baby pinkies. They'll just eat them if they feel like there's not enough food.
Right.
The problem with that is once there's an overabundance of fruit or food, they repopulate astronomically. They just keep reproducing. It's like ingrained in them. So imagine this coronavirus that is in Wuhan, right? Mm-hmm. And imagine if just by chance we hit the 50-year mark this year and all the bamboo drops fruit and all these rats start reproducing and they all get infected and they all run rampant and they start passing it off.
Oh, wow. That's why this year is like the year of the rat.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine that perfect storm for the apocalypse? And so this is real. This is true. It happens every 50 years.
You know what? See, I kind of see what you're talking about, like how the rats in China. But the only issue is how is that going to affect us here? Because we don't have any bamboo.
So I think that in a hypothetical situation, if there is an actual outbreak in China, it's only a matter of time. If it's that highly contagious and people are legitimately like half the population all of a sudden starts getting it, like it's literally spreading like wildfire, there's really no stopping it. You can stop. It's possible to stop it, but it really takes the whole world. I mean, they've done it before. They've quarantined remember Ebola?
Yeah.
It's just extremely hard to do. And the other thing is, if you're caught with your pants down, if the CDC doesn't take it seriously, and it turns out it is serious, usually by then it's too late. People have gone home from China to see their mom in the United States. Mom gets sick, you have a stubborn dad that gets sick who doesn't fucking stay home when he's sick, and he goes to work and he's, touching all the canned fruits and stuff.
Right.
So it really, there is a point where you can't stop it. And luckily, I think with the coronavirus, we've already acknowledged it was serious. You got 3,000 cases, 200 people dead.
You know what? I don't really trust this because.
Do you think they're like covering it a little bit, making it less?
Have you guys read the news where China was arresting people, journalists for actually trying to report on the case?
There's like undercover videos where they see these people like in the ambulance and they're covered head to toe in hazmat gear. Like these people are laying in the street and they're like dragging,
collapsing.
They're collapsing.
Really scares that.
I'm scared because we get a lot of stuff from China, right?
Yeah.
And then so what if the factory workers, because there's a lot of factory workers over there, and then they, put it in a package and send it over here.
I mean, some of the tilapia that you could buy
from China.
They're from China.
Yeah,
tilapia fish.
And like we just read, the virus isn't actually alive. So, so which means that if someone coughs on a Chinese table that gets imported over here,
there's a possibility.
So
that's why I'm expecting some packages from China. It's been 30 days, almost 30 days.
Well, right now is Chinese New Year. I think everything shuts down till I think the second week of February.
Well, they've already ceased traveling. They put travel bans. I think every country's now like, stay the hell away from China. But I think that I don't know if commerce has the same rules. I don't know if they're allowed to stop exports. And
I don't think so. That would cripple.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would, because I think there's too much money involved. When there's that much money involved, people really, so that's amazing. Imagine being the CEO of a company that has to make the call, like, do we continually mass produce or do we stop and lose millions and millions of dollars every day?
Right. So here's my take. I don't think it came from the wet market at all with the exotic animals of. Okay, so I just humor me for a second right now. Everybody, Ron, I asked you this. Have you seen the movie Resident Evil or played the game Resident Evil?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
Did you play the
game?
No.
No.
Have you played the game, Mike?
I've played all of them. In fact, there's a new Resident Evil 3 remake that's due to come out.
I heard about that.
It's my favorite. That was my favorite Resident Evil with Nemesis.
Okay, so that was one of my favorites as well. Growing up, PS1, I played Resident Evil. And what's the entity behind the T virus?
It's what do you mean?
Like what company was responsible for the T virus?
Oh, Umbrella.
Umbrella. What's their logo?
An umbrella.
Okay. So I want you guys to research this. Everybody who's listening right now, just Google RLSW Shanghai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Rulan Bao Su Sun Biotech. Okay. And this company is located, just research RLSW China. This company is located in Wuhan. Mm-hmm. It's a biotech company. And guess what the logo is? It's the Resident Evil umbrella, except it's not red and white. It's kind of like turquoise and white.
They're being really covert with the whole changing to turquoise.
Well, yes. you guys listening right now, you probably are wondering what the heck is he talking about. Like I said, Google RLSW China. And what you're going to find is this company. It's a biotech company, sort of like CDC almost. But biotech is more along the lines of developing certain, I don't know, what's biotech? Biotechnology, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's just, I'm assuming it's something to do with they like cultivate and grow different strands of biological things, skin tissues, cells, cancer cells, ear cells. Like, you ever seen that thing where they grew a human ear on a mouse?
Yeah.
That's bioengineering.
Wow. Okay. So is it entirely out of the realm that the official narrative of the official story was that it originated in a wet market with exotic animals? Because I think the WHO, the World Health Organization, tested the animals. None of them had corona in it. But that didn't get out because people who were actually talking about it get arrested in China. So what's really going on right now? I mean, nobody really knows, right? Like, we can't trust the media itself because if the Chinese government is arresting journalists and people, because their internet's not like our internet.
Now, are you suggesting that there might be some sort of collusion where they maybe purposely or something like that?
It's entirely possible, man.
So here's the thing is bubonic plagues, famine, things like that have been happening since the dawn of time.
Right.
You don't get to just pawn it off on a company because it's happening nowadays, because it's happened even before companies were even ever made.
I find it funny, though, that this company is based out of Wuhan. I don't know how to even say it.
It's just funny coincidence. I don't necessarily believe that there's some evil entity out there that decided, let's throw out a virus and then we'll charge $1 million per vial.
I don't even think that's. I honestly think that it was designed.
I mean, what you're telling us is the plot to Resident Evil.
That's basically it.
I mean, and the movie, that's exactly what happens is, so resources start getting scarce. So they come up with the T virus to turn 90% of the world into zombies, right? And the idea is it's essentially a purge, and only the wealthiest people get kind of a, so to speak, ticket or free ride. And then they pretty much restart the world.
All right. So we're gonna cue elevator music real quick, just so that I can have Ron Stone and Jus Mike look up Agenda 21. There's a lot of stuff to read on Agenda 21 and depopulation, sort of conspiracy theory, but the idea is basically there. It's kind of like searching for needle in the haystack when you read the Wikipedia article about Agenda 21. But it's all about depopulation and tying it in with the coronavirus. We don't really know exactly what's going on. I mean, based on our media, I don't really trust our media so much because it's all establishment control. I believe a lot of the stuff that media wants to tell us is on a need to know basis. I think it's a lot worse that's happening in China. And I think there are a lot more deaths that are being reported. Like I said, the government media, they're interconnected in one way. The educational system, they're all interconnected. The establishment, the cabal.
But don't you think that they're just, couldn't it be that they're just kind of embarrassed and they want to keep it low key? Not because there's malicious intent, but maybe they're just embarrassed that their whole country's running famine. I mean, why does it have to be that there's some ulterior motive? Why can't it be, hey, we need to cover this up so that we don't lose tourist dollars or something?
Well, that's entirely possible, but I don't think you can enter Wuhan right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously at this point, it's, we obviously know there's some cover up to it. They're not exactly being truthful, but I'm just saying I don't believe it's necessarily that they have some sort of secret agenda or that there's some, Illuminati group out there that's, made this virus and they started it and Wuhan, it's the epicenter or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Ron? What do you think about the whole situation of China covering up the actual? Do you think they're embarrassed to tell the world, or do you think that there's a more darker side to this?
A sinister
side to.
Yeah, I think they'll be doing that cover up thing because, everyone goes over there to see the Great Wall of China and then with the tourists and all that. But how could they like keep people from going in and out?
There's a lot of the area is quarantine, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing though. When they say ban people from going there, all that really does is stop the flights. And but I think if someone really wanted to get there, it's really as easy as go to the neighboring country first, take a train to the border, take a taxi and do it. I think it's that sort of thing. I'm sure you can squeeze in there if you really needed to, but overall, they're just trying to limit the amount of people coming and going to stop it from spreading.
Now, I'm going to fly a bit off the tangent here, and I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you don't believe that there's a shadow government that exists? I'm not talking about China right now, but don't you guys agree that there is some sort of a shadow government that operates, a group of rich families that control politicians? And don't you think that's entirely possible that the Illuminati exists?
If there was, what kind of incentive would they have for slaughtering their own sheep?
Power.
No, but they already have power. They're in power.
Right.
Nobody's I don't see. So you're a sheep herder.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
You have sheep. What's the point of slaughtering your own sheep or infecting them to where most of the sheep die? These are
I think it's this. I think possibly that they consider the lower class citizens as a different species or a virus.
But you can't have a rich class without a lower class. So why would you eliminate the lower class?
Well, that's a good. I think that. Have you guys heard of? We're talking about Agenda 21.
Population control.
Yeah, but we've been at 7 billion for. I think we've been at 7 billion for like the last 100 years.
I think what they're afraid of is losing power, because if let's say the lower class were to awaken, there's a million times more of us than them.
Give me an
rebels and stuff.
Give me an instance where the lower class awoke and overthrew something.
That's a good question. I know that back in the 1980s with in China there was but they didn't actually. You're right. I can't think of anything. I might be wrong, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But
so I think we can come to a general consensus that I don't think that there's any reason for a upper class of whatever you want to call it, power, money, currency, whatever, I don't think there's any incentive for them to take out or control because, well, actually, here, this is great because I'm actually argue with myself because you guys inadequacies.
No. I was gonna say something.
Egypt, the Jews overthrew the Egyptians.
Well, that's because Moses had had God on his side.
I'm sorry, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
They were enslaved and they all rebelled and fought back after there were so many of them. The Egyptians made the mistake of having too many slaves.
Okay. So going back to your original question, why would the rich and powerful, the elite, want to kill off the majority of the population? Because of resources.
Okay, so there's already plans. This goes back 20 years. They've already come up with plans for resources. Resources are not an issue. If for whatever reason we were running low on anything, like let's say food starts becoming scarce, right? They could turn whole parts of the ocean into plankton fields, and we would be eating plankton chips.
Well, who would fund that? The elite would? They don't want to spend their money on helping the poor. At least not that I think.
You don't think there's a market for that? If there's no more food in the world, make a big fucking field of plankton chips. Sorry, I cursed. We gotta bleep that out.
Yeah, we're gonna bleep that out.
Okay, so if you are the super elite and you see that resources are running low and there's not going to be food to sustain us in 50
I mean, if you have that much power, do you think you'd want to eat plankton? You'd want to eat Wagyu steak every day.
Yes, but not for you. But if you were the upper elite, let's say the owner of Amazon, he's the richest man in the world right now, right?
Jeff Bezos?
Yeah. You're the super filthiest, richest guy in the world, right? You know that they've already addressed the issue that food won't sustain us in the next 50 years. Okay? So you know that there's a market for it. You take all your money, you invest it in procuring, even if it's a whole ocean, okay? And you design it to where plankton is the most abundant thing that grows out of nothing. Photosynthesis, the sun. Right. The sun is going to not...
Very, very intelligent here. I feel overshadowed by your presence, Mike.
So, you have all this money. You procure yourself a couple lakes. You get algae buildup and you mass produce.
Well, plankton is not algae, actually. Plankton is the little krill that whales eat.
Yes.
It's algae that you're talking about.
Algae. Right. So you'll have algae chips. And so you're telling me that... I'm not even asking you a question. I'm just simply saying that you can mass produce algae chips and we'll never run out of food. Okay. So if you are a private owner and you have a world of starving people, I'm pretty sure there's people out there. If you say, hey, you take 100,000 people, you take 1 million people and you go, listen, your family will never starve. Come to me, my child, like Jesus or something. He goes, come to me, my child, and I will provide for you. And so he grooms himself and he has, you're the most amazing guy. You saved their life. You saved their family, their kids. You're providing free food. They're going to protect you.
No, let me ask you a question though. Both of you, if you had all of your needs met, you don't have to worry about survival. You don't have to worry about food. You don't have to worry about paying the bills. Say every single need was met. You're a billionaire, right? You have a different kind of problem, right? Let's say you're the richest in the world, Ron. Would you care about, honestly, I think you would, but then these guys, these rich elite people, I think are more sinister than we actually, like, okay, let me ask you a question though. What would you do, Ron? You're the most powerful man in the world.
Oh, me, you know me. I would help people.
I think that's in everybody's nature.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me just say, you sound like Joseph Stalin. You really sound very communistic when you're like, think of a world where everything's perfect.
I didn't say
everybody's
that.
eating.
Ron said that.
No, but you were like, what if you didn't have to worry about food? What if you didn't have to worry about money? And what if the world was fine? That's
okay. Let me.
Unrealistic.
That's
been tried, and I don't know if you know this, but
you're talking about a utopia. Communism was based on a utopian. I understand what you're trying to talk about.
Communism is synonymous with utopia. I think that's a fair assessment.
That is. Okay, so here's another thing. So if you have all your needs met, right, what would be something that would thrill you? Copulating, possibly.
Women.
Women. All right. Okay.
And
scratch that
meat.
because we can't talk about that. we can't talk about that right now. Scratch
Sorry.
that. So let me ask you a question. Where do you find your thrills aside from women?
Hunting rare, endangered.
Where does that innate feeling come from? Isn't it power that you feel by hunting?
Well, yeah, you kill a lion, I'm sure you're going to get a little bit of a rush.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they're on a different level of power hungry, the rich and elite.
Yeah, because control the masses.
Right. So, but I think honestly,
like we're arguing the same thing.
Yeah, we are. You controlling the masses, exactly.
Well, and so I'm literally agreeing with you where I'm saying it's possible to control the masses.
And I think that,
but there's no incentive for them to annihilate the masses.
I think it would be easier for them to control. Possibly, let me paint this scenario right now. Is it possible that the coronavirus will only affect certain individuals? What they could program, you could basically almost program anything. You could program, you can even design your own baby.
So why wouldn't they just make like a smart chip that they inject into your brain that carries all your information, but you don't know that there's some guy with a kill. No,
you're talking about the mark of the beast.
No, but what I'm saying is, okay, you're talking about like famine and wiping out half of them to make sure that the other half isn't powerful enough to. Why not just invent a smart chip that's
I think they already are,
which is cost effective, that will explode your brain if they wanted to. They just don't say that there's that in there.
I think they already are. There's so much. Yeah, I think that this is the Bible. Which I want to say this right now. A lot of people may think that it's a fairy tale. I know, Mike, you think that way too. But I think honestly, it's a guide of how to live your life.
I think that you're wrong.
Oh, you actually believe in something, Mike?
Yeah, I think the mark of the beast already came.
What? The phone?
Yep.
So by us having a phone, basically we're damned to hell.
Yep.
No, it has to be something that's you have to make a public vow by having the name or the number on your forehead. Okay, well, explain your theory, Mike.
So, there's a theory about how eventually humans are going to be integrated in with technology and we're going to eventually evolve, right? Our cell phones are to the point where we cannot be without them. When's the last time you spent a whole day away from your phone?
Never, right? I think you're planning a coup right now. You want to take over...
Take over the show?
You want to take over the show, Mike.
We need to get an idiot on the show. Mike, he's great. All of a sudden the tables turn. No, but so here's what's happening is these phones are a part of us. They're not physically attached to us like quote unquote the mark of the beast, but right now they're working on this technology to integrate these into us, okay? We already cannot be without our phones. The next is clearly they're going to make the phones a part of us.
How? How so? How would that be humanly possible?
Okay, so 20 years ago, if you told me to recite the Pythagorean theorem.
Shut up with that intellectual stuff. I don't even know what a Pythagorean theorem is.
The Pythagorean theorem was
a big word.
He was a Greek mathematician that invented a formula to figure out geometric shapes.
Okay, all right.
So now, if I told you to recite that 20 years ago, there's no way. Siri, what is the Pythagorean theorem?
I get you. Okay, so basically we have
Here's what I found.
And there it is, the Pythagorean theorem. And it tells you everything about the Pythagorean theorem, including the inventor. So there's 20 years ago, you would think I was possessed by a demon if I was able to just do this.
Okay, so how are we going to integrate the phone? What is going to be a chip in our head? Is what you're saying?
So I know Elon Musk is working on this, and he's very vague with what it is. Okay, so like right now, the issue we're having is they call it a band issue. 10 years ago when you would try and text, you were T9. First, it was just, you literally had to push the button 3 times to get the letter.
To get the letter.
Right. Then they invented T9, which made it even faster. Okay. And then they made the keyboards on the phone, which made it even faster. Then they made voice recognition, which made it even faster. There's going to be a point where they're going to make it so fast that you just think and it actually goes on your phone. And then eventually it's going to be where it's in your brain. Me and you aren't even going to use our vocal cords at some point in life. We're going to be just sending signals back and forth.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I believe in that.
So, but this,
I believe that
this phone is the mark of the beast, whether you want to think it or not, or because it's not stamped into your arm or because it's not injected into your body. Make no mistake, these phones are the mark of the beast. You cannot be without your phone. You've already involuntarily surrendered to the phone.
Look, I'm going to clash with you on the
intellectual
side.
Do me a favor. Don't use your phone for a week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not.
Why are you smiling?
Because you just blew my mind there. I know about conspiracy stuff, but you were the guy that always argued against it every time we had a conversation. Ron's always just like enlightened. Every time I tell him something, he's like, whoa, bro, I didn't know that. And then you're like, no, that's not what happens. I honestly think it's something different. Okay, instead of having a physical phone, I think it's going to be integrated through,
we're saying the same thing.
Right. I think it's entirely possible that you're going to have a phone in your head.
This is the chip. The mark of the beast, we just look at it as a cell phone. It's not a cell phone anymore. It literally is.
So basically,
we just don't have it inserted into our body. We just keep it at arm's length.
Well, basically
at all times.
In the Revelation, we're going to wrap this up real quick, but in the Revelation, if you have the mark of the beast, you're condemned forever. There's no.
Well, I guess you're going to hell then.
That's a good theory, Mike. It's a really, really good theory. And you're not a conspiracy theorist, by the way.
No, I'm not. And again, I don't think that I don't think there's the Illuminati making a T virus to knock out half the world so they can stay in power. But I do think that there's something with these phones.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. I think that there's a sinister motive behind it. Ron, what do you think? Do you think this is just a regular?
No, I think that they're doing that for the population control. Like where
Ron's on my side.
You was saying. But
so I guess we just need to ask the viewers now. I guess between me and Steven, who had the more compelling argument? In a nutshell, he's arguing that the coronavirus is something that has the potential to be made by some secret entity or government that's for population control. My argument is that there's no incentive for quote unquote wiping out half the population to make sure they're not strong enough to stand up, because there's no incentive. Like I said, you can be the richest man in the world and make a algae field full of chips so that when the time comes, and because there's not a question of whether or not there's not going to be enough food. It's, we're going to peak at 9 billion people, and I don't think there will be enough food, but I think we've already cracked that. Once that starts happening, we're just going to have huge lakes full of algae, and we're going to all eat chips.
I'm seething anger right now. And in all my 7 years of knowing you, you've never out-debated me in this fashion and make me sound like an idiot.
That's why I come in, ding, ding, ding.
I think Ron just threw the white towel at Steven.
All right, guys, we just want to. Oh, one last thing before we wrap up the show. Mike heard our episode 1 about the shadow people. You said you wanted to talk.
So
insert something real quick.
Yeah, I really humor this idea. I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist at all. In fact, I tend to go against the grain a lot. There's one weakness I have for conspiracies, and that's interdimensional beings and traveling. I really think that there is something there. So when we talk, when I heard about shadow people, that was something that really intrigued me, that I thought is definitely plausible. I love the idea of the shadow people.
Well, okay, so basically, remember we were talking about this in episode 1.
Yes.
You believe that they're interdimensional, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think they could be standing right next to us. I think there could be 3 people making a podcast right now in another dimension right here.
Oh, what you're talking about is
no, not time. You're thinking time.
Well, no, you're thinking about you're basically thinking about the multiverse, where there's like 10 1,000 million different types of Jus Mike, Ron Stoned, and Steve Solos? Is that what?
Well, you call it a multiverse. Isn't it like a dimensional universe?
No, because so
what's the difference between a different dimension and a different universe?
Dimension is an actual place. I'm thinking
you cannot quantify a different dimension by words.
Yes, you can.
No.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
a
believe
dimension
that.
is a space between a space that we can't detect. Obviously, you know that we live in a third dimension,
a different veil,
wavelength.
if you would.
Yeah, well, okay. So how us as humans, we perceive things as width, length, and height. Okay, these are the dimensions that we see. Apparently, it goes way past that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a space between spaces that we cannot detect.
It's like
hexagon. I think hexahedron.
No, it's like in the 1800s, if you showed someone like a 3D picture where you move it and it looks like it's moving.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's something they couldn't quantify in their world. If you gave them that piece of, if you took Albert, I won't say he's relatively young. If you took George Washington and you handed him a little piece of paper that was a 3D thing, the ones you scratch and it makes noise. Yeah. If you showed that to him and he picked it up, his brain could not quantify what's going on. He would look at the paper, realize that there's a human in a piece of paper, and then he would look at a piece of paper and it'd be flat, and he literally could not figure out what was going on. And I think that's what the dimensional thing is we cannot grasp the concept of what a dimension is.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, okay, time is considered a factor of dimension. Like, let's say, for example, something that lives in a 2-dimensional plane can't conceive what we are. You know what I'm saying? So, because let's say that they can sense forward, backward, but they don't have height in their visual peripheral. Imagine if you lived on this 2-dimensional plane, saw a foot step down. How would you perceive that? You wouldn't know how to perceive it, right? So I think in the higher dimensions, basically, is stuff. There's a huge possibility entities live there, and our senses cannot detect it.
The best way I was explained to this, which is kind of stupid, but when it comes to dimensions, picture you have 400 boxes that you have to move, right? You move them into your new house, right? And you take the boxes, your closet is not going to fit all these boxes in. But essentially, what if there was a storage area where you could place these boxes and they go into this portal type scenario, and there they lie? The problem is the physical things that are here. I think our biggest obstacle is transporting these physical objects into another dimension. I think science already recognizes that there are other dimensions.
Yes, there are.
Right. The physical being of us and our presence here, or even inanimate objects, getting them from this dimension to another is where they're just like, they don't even know where to start.
Well, it's basically here. It's just, we can't detect it.
It's not here. It's basic.
Here.
It's here, but it's not. And that's why when I say you cannot quantify, what was the word I used?
Quantify?
You cannot
comprehend.
No, damn. You know what I'm talking about. The word you cannot quantify, or you can't even articulate what a dimension is. It's too hard to explain with words. You can't. It's.
Okay, I mean, here's what I'm going to recommend.
Which we're all speechless sitting here trying to explain dimension, which is what I'm telling you. You can't really explain in words. It's hard because we don't actually know. It's like, and I don't want to make your neck hair stand up, but it's kind of like dark matter. When you talk about it, nobody really knows what it is. Or
the vast distances between two planets, or what's that dark matter. So here's a thought experiment before we wrap it up. Eventually we will be starting a Patreon account for Anomalien, where exclusive content. And we're going to watch Ron Stoned go into the rabbit hole by taking DMT and having him explain what the dimensions are.
I'll be the guinea pig.
You're going to be the guinea pig, and we're going to record it.
I need to rent a zoo animal.
And have him take DMT?
Yeah, we won't tell him, and then we'll just have a llama walk across the living room and be like, "Do you see that llama?"
Oh, you mean Ron?
Yeah,
not the zoo animal.
Yeah, no. We'll have the zoo animal walk across, and he's going to be like, I just saw a llama walk across the living room, and we'll be like, no, you didn't. He's like, you will never believe the things that I saw.
There's just so much stuff that we can continue talking about forever. But again, this is episode 2, guys. Thank you. I'm Steven Solow. With me is
Ron Stoned.
Jus Mike.
And we are thankful that you guys spent a full-blown hour, I believe, with us. So anyways, we're going to try to put out more content. The three of us are going to be trying to tackle some of the bigger questions of our reality, such as aliens, Sasquatches, shadow people, dimension, Pizzagate, Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to be doing all that. And eventually we're going to be interviewing somebody who practices magic in the future. We're not going to say her name, but we will interview her, I guess, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up, guys?
This was entertaining. I got to really stretch my brain out on this.
You make me want to punch you in the throat, man. You're planning a coup. It's going to be the Jus Mike show with his minions, Steven Solow.
You're going to get a call. Listen, we really love the show. We want to buy it. Can we get the contact information of Jus Mike?
All right, guys. Till next time. Laters.
Later. Bye.